What's up, 12s? It's Loaf the Tupa with the Seattle Seahawks, and you're watching NorbCam.
What's up, everybody? This is NorbCam coming at you with another video, another edition of the Coach's Corner. Tonight, we are going to be talking about that right there. Who is to blame for all of those Seahawks sacks that we've been seeing all season? It's becoming just a concerning trend. And the question is, it's so easy to blame the offensive line. Some of you say it's Russell Wilson. Or is it something else? We're going to find out from the coach himself, Coach Bill Marsh, to break these down and show evidence of what he thinks is the real reason for this. So before we jump into it, just love to ask everybody, if you wouldn't mind, please hit that like button, smash it, hit the subscribe button and notification bell. It's a huge help to my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And I also want to shout out, don't do this enough, so I need to do it. Make sure that I acknowledge those members of NorbFAM, like the MVPs like Nick LeBeau, Anthony D, Jesse Duckface, Ryker Rockstar, NINJA-CRK, and the All-Pros, Maria Maraj, Jason E, Casey Sportsnerd, Aidan, Pham, Liam, Rawson, and BJ. And I would also like to do a quick shout out to my sponsor, Daniel Dovin. You've seen his face on here, Daniel Dovin of Dovin Real Estate. Yes, he's a really cool guy, awesome Seahawks fan, and really sharp on helping with real estate needs that you might have, or maybe your parents have, or a friend. Just send them your way. Daniel Dovin, 206-310-3362. Check out the link in the description, and he can help you out with a one-on-one consultation, and if you do, you'll be entered in a drawing to win a Cortez Kennedy rookie card, the Hall of Famer, Defensive Player of the Year of 1992. Rest in peace, Cortez Kennedy. All right, without further ado, let's bring the star of the show on. We're talking about the one and only Coach Bill Marsh. Coach Marsh, welcome back to the show on Coach's Corner.
How are you, man?
Man, I'm doing great. You know, it's Super Bowl week. Obviously, this is when things really ramp up for the big game. I'm bummed out, obviously, that we're not in this game, but nonetheless, it's always a fun, exciting thing, and there's a lot to look forward to in this game on Sunday. So, yeah, it's an exciting week. A lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun, and I'm really looking forward to even tonight, just kind of hyper focusing on stuff, and I think everybody's moved on with regards to us not being in it, but. I think we have a neat opportunity to always look and see what is it going to take for us to get there. I think that's one of the fun things about the Super Bowl is you look and say, okay, how far are we really away from being like one of those two teams? And to be honest with you, I don't think we're that far away. I think there's some things that we have going well, and especially with the change with the coordinator and some of those other things, all hope is not lost on us with regards to what we're going to be able to do, in the future. But it's Super Bowl week is fun, even though it's kind of a strange time. I think they're going to figure out ways to make things worthwhile and make things fun. Yeah,
absolutely. So we have a lot of shows going on this week. We have obviously tonight, and then tomorrow we got the roundtable, and we're going to talk more about the Super Bowl matchup and talk about some of the recent developments from just in the NFC West with the change in quarterback with the Rams. So many things tied between us and the Rams this week, but we'll get into that next week. But before we jump into this topic about the Seahawks sacks, I just want to give you the opportunity, let people know who maybe are new to the show. Who are you, Coach Marsh, and why should we listen to you? We go way back.
You know what? I think a lot of people say, why should I listen to you? Even my former players and assistant coaches, probably some parents, why should we listen to you? I spent 28 years in coaching. I played high school football, played at the college level until I was injured, and then ended up just deciding I really wanted to be a teacher. In terms of teaching, both coaching to me is coaching and teaching. So being able to be out there and be with nearly 1,500 kids. I ended up starting 3 youth programs where every Saturday, pre-COVID, there was close to 1,000 kids that were out there playing and 150 coaches and everything else. So, born and raised in the state of Washington, I've been here my whole life. And my 2 greatest mentors, one was the number 8 ranked coach of the 20th century. And the other one, Sherman Smith. He was my high school coach. And then he played running back. He was running backs for the Seahawks before that. And then my coach, and then coached in the NFL for 22 years. So I feel like I've been around the block a little bit. The gray is showing. But I stay intertwined, and I get to have some really neat conversations with people who are intertwined closely, specifically with Seahawks football. And so I've, especially with this one, I started to make a little transition. I made a lot of calls and a lot of connections via email and DMs and everything else people are doing to just find some insight from other people that might be different from what the standard or casual fan might be able to find. So hopefully I can bring something to the show and bring something to people who are watching for the first time. Might educate you a little bit and just give you a chance to see things from a little different perspective.
And of course, our company, Mike, Lorraine, and myself, Quantum Productions, we worked with you side by side during those high school years as offensive coordinator and then head coach at Eastside Catholic from 1995 all the way to 2007, I think was the last year that we did. So we had a long decade plus of working together. So I appreciate this opportunity to have you side by side, literally on the screen, working on this stuff together. So this is fantastic. So can't wait to see how you break this down. We have not talked about this, so I do not even know what the coach's take is on this subject. That's how raw and real this is, folks. Just to let you guys know the plan, we're going to go ahead and talk about this stuff for about the next hour plus, and about halfway through, we will take calls from you guys. Any questions you have for the coach, just jump on the Discord right there if you haven't already. The link is there as well as in the chat, and we'll take a few calls at the end and wrap up the show around about 6:30. So about the next hour plus to break these plays down. So, Coach, the floor is yours.
Well, and as we start to go into this, I have to say it's been neat the last, now going on 10 weeks. And I think we're kind of past the point now where we have to kind of, pat each other on the back and do those things all the time. I think people who have been with us know that, that we have an affinity for each other in terms of how we try to work. But one thing I haven't said on here, Norb, is that, what you guys brought to us as a program was, the enhancement of film. Film study has been around forever. People are always doing things with regards to, whether it was the 8 millimeters, where it was, back even in the 1920s, they were filming games. But when you guys came along, you advanced it to a different level by having, we had multiple cameras there. We had, kind of the eye in the sky. We had the ground level. We had the end zone view. So we were literally the first team in the state that was able to do that. So, you guys were trendsetters back in the late, 1990s and the early 2000s. So it's fun when I see things that are coming up now and think, gosh, we were doing that years ago. It really enhanced us as a program. It took us, you're literally one of the 5 staples that took us to the level that, where it became and then where it maintains now as one of the top programs in the country. Back when I was doing it, we considered ourselves one of the top teams in the state because we weren't playing teams all around the country. But you guys were a big part of it. So anybody who's watching, just know that Norb is, he's a huge football fan, but he also is an innovator of the things he does. And he innovated the game for us, and film's the greatest thing ever. So that's what makes this show fun for me, because you can't be a coach and not love watching film, right? The greatest players, whether it's Ray Lewis, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, they'll all tell you, you got to sit there with a clicker in your hand. Even to this day, I still use my clicker. I'm still using the clicker back and forth once I find things. So, you're trying to look at those little nuances, and that's what makes it great, man. That's what makes it fun. But Norb, I got to be honest with you. I think we're also at the point where I need a producer. I need a producer because I got so many sticky notes and things I got to pull up and down and everything else. So hopefully I'll keep it well organized as we continue to move through this. So. Well,
hopefully you'll get a producer better than the one I use. And that's me. It's a one-man band here, man. That's how we roll here. So it's a lot to juggle, but it's fun.
I'm saying it tongue in cheek. I know in the world of YouTube and Instagram and everything else that people are putting out there that you self-produce. That's what makes it fun, right? That's what you're trying to do. That's the challenge is, how do you make sure you get your lighting and do all these other things?
Right.
I'm just glad there's not film on me when I'm getting ready for the show and doing some stuff, because there'd be a lot of critiquing going on, which I know takes place in the super chat sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't get to see that during it. So.
And a lot of people are going to find you got your channel launching this week too, so I'm excited to see its premiere. You can definitely in the comments we'll put links to that when that all that gets live. So look for Coach's show launching this week. So it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and we'll close that out at the end. So here's what I got going for you tonight, Norb.
All right.
I went through, when you asked me about the idea of, talking about offensive line and, whether it was them or whether it was, Russ and those other things, obviously the first thing you're going to do is go to the film. So I went through every single sack of this season. I went through every single sack from last season. And then I went through 2014, 2015, I'm sorry, the Super Bowl. So 2013, 2014 seasons. And then I also went back to the 2005 Super Bowl year just to kind of look at some stuff. Now, only showing 6 plays tonight, just showing 6 plays, no bonus plays, just 6 plays with regards to this season that I think give a good wide variety of plays. But the one thing is they're not going to be in any sort of specific sequence in terms of, I didn't pick it based on when it was in the game, those things. So I'll give a little bit of preface to what it is, and you'll see some of it when they show the timing of the game when it comes up. But really, this is more about just looking at the dynamics of scheme, what's Russell doing, what's the O-line doing, and again, who are we determining? You know, if I was to make a decision, which I'll let you know at the end, who would I determine is more at fault? Is it the offensive line or is it Russ? And regardless of what people may have heard over the last few weeks, I'm a huge Russell Wilson fan. So even though I may nitpick him, for little things and such, I hope the guy's a career guy here. I hope he leads us to another Super Bowl. I don't ever want to lose him. I think he does great stuff for us. So when I'm nitpicking him on certain things, that's not to say that he's not going to win this challenge tonight. The first NorbCam challenge.
All right. Let's do it. Can't wait to see
let's do it.
what
Let's
you
go
got.
to play number one.
Let's do it.
Let me transition us over there. We'll make sure we're good to go. Okay, is all set from your side there, Norb?
All good. Roll it.
Okay. Now, I don't know if you can pick up on it. It might be super small, but there's a little guy flying across. Might look like a fly. That icon is actually a Seattle Seahawks logo.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It's tiny, but I can see it.
It's tiny. And if we have to switch out, I'll switch it out during a call. So basically what we have, and I'm not going to do a lot of telestrating as much as I'm going to do more kind of some talking here so we can, really see what's happening. So what I want people to look at from the get-go, and if you're new to this, I usually like to try to remember to watch the play first before I stop it in the first time. So I'm just going to let it run, just the side view, the all 22, and then we'll come back, kind of break some things down and do a little more discussion as much as we would do telestrating. So I'm going to let the play go again. This is against Minnesota. If you remember earlier in the year, a situation where we had to come back, and we did. We ended up making a great comeback.
It was a bad first half, though. This from the first half, I assume, right?
Yep. It was not a good first half. So again, I'm going to let the play run. And what I want people to start noticing with some of these plays are the amount of people that are rushing us. Because that, to me, is going to be dictator number one. Dictator number one is not the defense that they're running, but just to keep it at a real simple level, how many people are rushing? Because that, you can look at just the sheer numbers alone and go, gosh, if they have 7 rushing and we're only blocking with 5, you can't blame the offensive line for that. But if there's 5 against 4 defensive linemen, okay, now we have to have a conversation. So that, and sometimes, there's loops and stunts and all those other things. So now let's really start to look at what we have going here. And again, a lot of this will probably spend more time from the end zone view. So again, here we have our 3 guys that are going here, 3 down and a stand-up backer. So while technically it's a 3-4, we're going to call it a 4-2. So I'm just going to call it based on how many guys are up on the front and how many linebackers there are. I know 3-4s, I know 5-2s, I know 4-3s, but we're just going to keep it really, really simple. So as they're starting to come off the line, what you're going to see here is, first off, what I notice is great offensive line protection early on in the season. So this speaks to maybe offensive coordinator, because we were doing a great job of protecting and getting our feet square, creating what we call the V. We like to try to get a V in here as much as possible. So when you hear about the protection schemes, we try to get a V. And really, even with just these 4 guys, we've created that V. We've created a nice pocket here with guys that are going routes. And I'm not going to be talking about routes tonight either. However, I do want you to look at the routes. Don't have time to look at every single little thing here in terms of guys that are open all over different spots. We're just looking at it from a timing perspective. So now that we've seen it from the side a few times, it's going to be the end zone view that's going to really be the test of knowledge in terms of how well we're playing things. So there are we got 5 guys, potentially it looks like 4 that are going to be coming. And when I say it looks like, it means that's what Russ has to be thinking that. I'm not saying it looks like it. Like, there are definitely 4 coming, but he has to be pre-snap thinking. So that's point number 2. Point number 1, how many people are on the line? How many people does it look like we have to defend on the line of scrimmage itself? Point number 2 is pre-snap read. What is Russ seeing? What is he sensing? Does he see 4 and think that there's 5? Does he see 7 and think there's maybe 4 because he's studied the film? What plays are we running? Everything else. So that pre-snap determination. And I'd say at the NFL level, in the offense that we ran, probably 30% of our snaps that were passes were pre-snap, throw the football. It's not like the true West Coast offense, because it wasn't so much West Coast offense. West Coast offense is 1, 2, 3, throw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, throw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hippity hop throw. It's all based on timing. When you're a digit offense, meaning you're kind of giving receivers different routes and you're telling them all what to do, not a lot of pre-snap read, because the quarterback has to drop back and read from progression. So as we kind of wrap this play, what I want us to notice is the time he has: 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. I mean, literally, you could get to 5 seconds. Now, watch Russell's feet. Any quarterback, if they're going to do a really strong read, usually your reads are going to be, read number one is your number one receiver you're going to in the pass play. Number two is going to be probably a crossing route or something that's a complementary route to that. Number three is going to be a check down, potentially, or maybe a third receiver. And then fourth could be a hot. So you're looking at your main primary receiver. You're looking at the complementary receiver. You're looking at that third check down receiver type. And then you got to get out of there and get rid of the ball. And what dictates that, as you're dropping back, you're going to read for number one. So his drop back is reading number one. His settling of his feet and doing his hippity hop, which you'll see in his feet, should be looking at number two. If you get a chance to hippity hop again, that's number three. So you shouldn't be doing more than 2 hippity hops here. So now I'm going to go slow motion, and I want you to just focus on his feet. So that first set of drop right there, he's already in the gun, and he took a deep drop after being in the gun. So that he should be able to see his number one, and let's say it's Metcalf. I'm looking at Metcalf. I'm looking off. Now I'm looking back to Metcalf. Plenty of time to determine if I'm throwing to Metcalf. Okay, not there. So his first hippity hop forward, which is right here. Here's hippity hop. Foot goes down. Foot goes planted. Now I should be looking at number two. But now he does it another one. That should be looking off at number three. Here's the issue, Norb, and this is what I'm going to end with on this play. As he comes back to make this happen, as he drops back, his eyes are focused one direction. I think this is something we talked about as a trend many times. His eyes are focused one direction, and then when he does his double hippity hop, and he actually gets a third mini one in there, his eyes stay pretty focused on number two. So if we just kind of let it run in slow-mo here, he's going to drop back. He's looking right, hippity hop, hippity hop, hippity hop, hippity hop, hippity hop, and he takes a little glance back to his left, but by then it's too late. He feels the pressure, and it's coming. And so he puts himself in a position there where, he's got troubles from the get-go that he's not going to be able to, he's not going to be able to maintain. So if I'm scoring that one, actually, no, let's go ahead and, since we haven't, we don't pre-talk about these shows, we just kind of go at it. Give me your take on what you kind of saw there, what you think.
Are you able
the
to
new
pull
offensive
up
line coach, you're talking to the quarterback, you got him in a meeting, you're putting it all up there. Like, we're going to look at all the pass plays from this last year, but today our focus is just on sacks. We have to fix our sacks. What are you going to talk about as the new coach? So because you know the game.
Well, and are you able to pull up the sideline view from the All-22?
Yeah, you bet. Let me be your producer.
Okay, all right. Because, and I think the audience, I see some of the chats saying the same thing. Look left, Russ.
Yeah. Let me just pull it up here.
From what I saw, and again, I'm just going off of the obvious, stuff from, so let's go back to that earlier in the, there we go. So played from there. All right, so stop. So what I'm seeing here is down to the bottom, tight end, he's covered. Now, I can't read the numbers, but the next receiver at the 20-yard line, if you move to right there, he's pretty well covered.
So let's go back so you can see where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to spend a ton of time, but your show, so now you get to kind of look at it, and you do have to look at those things. That would be a major factor of because that is one of the things that I'm looking at in the overall grade is Russell hyper-focused on one or two players on each play. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier of you don't know what you don't know, right? So if Russ has only been taught that. So here we go. So go ahead. You're looking at it. You got one receiver who's gone.
Yep. Play forward a little bit more. Okay. So right now, that receiver, he's covered. And
he's got a high-low.
Yep. And the deep post going across the middle. I'm not sure who that is, but he's pretty decently covered too. Maybe he can get a step on him. But it's not a for
notice
sure.
Which side he started from, Norb.
He started from the left.
Remember what you said earlier, like people on the super chat, I guess it sounds like they're saying look left, right?
Right.
Hey, look left. He's only looking right. So based on what we saw from that end zone view, and even during that hippity hop, does he even know that this time, that just so we know, and I think it is important to know a little bit which receivers we're looking at. You got Metcalf up here and you got Lockett right here. So top to bottom, your number one is Metcalf. Your number two is Lockett on the top side. Yeah. Okay, so now let's let it play, knowing that's more down here at the bottom.
So you got Lockett, he's doing the post, and Metcalf streaking to the corner.
Streaking.
But it's pretty well covered. So at this point, it doesn't seem like there's an obvious wide open guy down there. But I see this check down at the 32.
Yes.
Carson, after he chipped on the block, wide open. So if anything, if all that stuff is if I'm the offensive coordinator, I'm going, Russ, why didn't you go to your outlet right there? The guys are 10 yards off the ball. Get the ball to him, and he's going to run and probably get you at least 5 yards or maybe more, knowing that Carson can run. So that's my take of that. That's Russell should have thrown it to the outlet, to the check down.
Yes, and I no doubt about it. I mean, there's certain things that you look at and you go, okay, what is he thinking? What is he looking at? But again, I think there's some habitual things that take place that I noticed a lot, on a lot of the sacks. And again, I don't want to give away which side I'm going to, say, because the offensive lines, they're going to have their turn coming up here pretty soon. But that one, check mark goes to Russ, right? I mean, you have that much time, in an offense. But again, I think that was part of what teams started picking up on in the second half of the season is, hey, let's exactly what took place there. What did they take away there that we couldn't come to? The two guys going deep. Russ wasn't looking at him, but hey, let's take away the deep guy, take away the next deepest guy. And we used to say it all the time, Norb. And I made the mistake for the first few years, as an offensive coordinator. Coaches will not focus on throwing short, and quarterbacks will not focus on throwing short, even if you give them all night long or all day long whenever you're playing, hey, we're going to give up the 5-yard slant, the 5-yard out, and the 5-yard dig, and the 5-yard square in. Let's see if a team will just keep doing that all night long, or if they'll just keep throwing that play after play after play after play after play. I've always been a believer, but it would just be super boring, that you could run hot routes and check down routes and nickel and dime your way down the field all the time. With the athletes that we have at the NFL level, you're telling me with DK and Tyler and the mismatches, if you just said, hey, Russ, rocks and sticks, but you can't throw anything longer than 10 yards. Your routes can go there, and maybe every 5 plays you have to throw it deep or whatever. You make up something, but literally guys will be open all the time. But coaches can't stay with that. We get antsy. We get antsy with that type of stuff.
Well, take what the defense gives you. It's always a good thing, especially if you're trying to avoid sacks or turnovers. So, all right. Well, let's move to the next play. Let's see what you got.
All right. So this next one is going to be. Let me switch this over there. All right, so you can see
this game,
where we're at, where we
Buffalo.
are in the season, right?
Yeah, this nasty game.
Ugly times.
Yeah, 24-7, 4 minutes into the second quarter. Things are only pretty bad.
Things have only just begun. Go ahead and sing it for us, Norb. I haven't had a request from you for a long time.
We've only just begun.
There you go.
All right.
And we'll go through 3 plays, and then I think we should take some calls. Because when you hyper-focus on stuff, I got to believe people are, either in the super chat or getting their thoughts, which I love. That we're just kind of looking at this.
Yeah.
Here's what's crazy. There were 7 sacks in this game. Only 1 took place in the first 3 quarters. So, even though we were getting kind of crushed, and a lot of those other sacks took place when we were kind of flailing around. So that's why I've got 2 that are in here, but one that's definitely from early on.
All right.
Totally different type of a look and a feel here. So let's go ahead and let it play.
No blitz.
Yeah, you saw that pretty quick.
Yeah.
You saw it pretty quick. So let's go ahead and play it back again. So now that you've seen it, and again, especially with the offense we run where we take almost the full play clock to get up there, Russ definitely has plenty of time to watch and react, to read and recover. I'll say it again. He has plenty of time to watch and react, read and recover, meaning he can read something, but if a team's disguising it, which teams do, you have to be able to recover from that quickly. And as quick of a release as we think Russ has, I honestly don't think it's definitely not a top 5 release. Top 10, yeah, he's definitely in there he can get rid of the ball at times, but it's not Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't quite have what he used to with regards to, Mahomes throwing the sidearm and the underarm and all those different types of balls. Russ used to throw some of those, kind of those sidearm specials or get rid of it. Now it's more, I'm going to try to make things happen. But again, this might not be on Russ. This could be offensive line, even though it's so quick. So let's look and see it. Okay. Part of it, again, is how many are up front is number 1, what we're looking at. Number 2 is pre-snap, looking at the read. But then the third big component is, what is the play? Is it just a one-step drop? Was it a deep drop? Is it something that by the time Russ finishes his drop, so this is what I want people to now be looking for. These are the only 3 things I'm going to tell you about for the night, is that pre-snap read, how many are on the line, and that footwork with Russ that kind of tells you how how deep the play is. Well, one-step drop, he has time to get it and throw it. But if he's thinking, I got 3 step, 5 steps, and he's in the middle of that drop back, and he looks to his left and the guy's in his face, the guy's running a 4.5 40 as a linebacker, we all sit up here and go, I should have got rid of it. Well, you know what? Maybe the line should have slid that direction, or running back should have gone over. So let's go ahead and watch it in slow motion a little bit here. Knowing that Russ is reading it, he's seeing it. Buffalo, they were the first team this year that really changed the defense on us. They didn't run a traditional defense as we would normally see it. They were
I see 4 down linemen, and then is that a linebacker on the left side of the D line in the 2-point stance?
Again, they're basically playing a 4-3, and a lot of teams have to play nickel against us. And if you're new to the show or new to football a little bit, and I know we have people all around the world watching you, so it's great. I love it. Nickels, when you bring an extra defensive back type in because of they're playing multiple receiver sets, and I'm not going to get into 3x1s and 2x2s, but we've got 4 receivers out there in terms of 3 receivers and a tight end, 4 eligible receivers, and a running back out of the backfield, and we're throwing the ball because we're behind. So Nickels bringing in 1 extra, a dime is bringing in 2 extra, and one thing that you're starting to hear more of, Norb, which I hadn't heard it in years. We used to run it because the league we were in, there were a couple teams that were just pass happy and throwing it all over, is quarter. Kind of the next work up, right? So Nickels 1 extra, dime is 2 extra. Some teams now are playing quarter, meaning they're bringing 3 extra DBs in, and they're taking out like 3 D linemen. I saw a couple of games that when we pulled one up earlier in the coach's corner, where basically 11 guys are standing up on defense. Yeah. So the hybrid of the game is changing so much. So here we go. So we got Russ coming up to the line of scrimmage. He's obviously seen something. He's talking, and you just saw our center. He points out. Make sure we already got it as he came back. Okay, right there.
He points his left arm.
He's pointing out, and he's pointing out to the mic. And I'm not going to get into it too deep right now, but on one of my little self-plug, shameless plug, on one of my shows, this will be a point of emphasis that I will be explaining to people, is the concept of the mic backer. Because half the teams want to know who the middle backer is, and half the teams don't. And I want to be careful when I say middle backer, because the mic backer in an offense, when they're looking at the defense, is not always the middle backer. It's whoever the center determines is the quote unquote middle backer, and that determines how the team slides. So let me just come back to you for a second, Norb, so I'm not talking into a circle for a second. This is a really kind of the biggest point of emphasis that can dictate kind of how we're looking at this thing, right? If that center gets up there, and to us, we go, okay, there's a linebacker in the middle, and so the guys on the left they block the left guys, and the guys on the right block the right guys. Doesn't always work that way. One of the things Peyton Manning was great at with his center and their communication was Peyton knew exactly what his center was doing and what he was thinking, and most of the time, he wanted his center to point to the outside linebacker and say, that guy is the mic, based on the play, because he knew that the whole offensive line would then change their mentality towards, okay, if that guy's the mic and my responsibility as the right guard is to block the first guy to the right of the mic, or which means to my right, that changes things versus if the mic backer's there and it's the first defensive player to the right. So if I come back here to explain a little bit what I'm saying, if they point out this middle backer, which he did as the mic, depending on what their scheme they're running or concept they're running, this guard, he might have the first player to the right of the mic. Well, first player to the right of the mic could be half body of the nose. It could be this defensive tackle because it's kind of the first actual guy to the right of him, first full body. But let's play. These were 3 normal linebackers, and the center pointed all the way out here and said, "This guy's number 22 is the mic. 22 is the mic, or 22 mic." Then now the right guard, his first guy to the right, is definitely here, but he might start trying to weave out to there. So it really dictates things, and the quarterback has to know what's happening there. And Norb, I'm telling you, there were a lot of times where it does not look like who the center calls out as the mic is understood sometimes by the other lineman because a new guy's come in there and he's gone the wrong way, or Russ escapes the wrong direction based on the blocking. So let's look at this again. Now that we know that, now that we know that the center's pointed out the middle linebackers, the mic, doesn't look like anybody's rushing us right at the moment. And now, as Russ is taking the snap, quick adjustment. And I love seeing this on film. Like, I love seeing this in the NFL because it's not a blah, boring situation that they're doing. When teams at the last minute do this type of rotation, now they make a quick switch. Norb, do you notice anything with Russ? And this is kind of out to when I ask Norb a question, I'm asking every NorbCam family friend that's, that follows you. All, nearly 50,000 people we're going to get you to. Do you notice anything with just Russ himself? And the end zone view will really show you. Pre-snap,
he didn't.
Like a second before the snap.
When that guy moved in, he didn't seem to do a thing.
He didn't notice anything, and that's not to say that he should, because obviously, a quarterback of his level, you would think he knows. Okay, I've got a hot route, I can sense it. But somebody has to have said something, right? I mean, the offensive linemen are talking all the time. This is the one neutralizer to this conversation. Is that you and I are not down on the field. We don't have a microphone down there. So we don't know that the portion that is communication.
The other thing we don't know either is how much.
Or say anything.
Right. And we also don't know how many seconds are left on the play clock. Because if it's down to 2-1, he might have to just snap it because, as they always do, they push it right to the last second. So maybe they had to get the snap off to avoid a delay game. So that's the other thing we don't know either. How much time did he have to make a last second adjustment as well? Right?
And to a point, not only do we not know how much time there is, but even at that, are we going to be able to dictate if the play is there? Or do we have a hot route, or is this a potential screen route? Right. So now, and that's where we start getting to the problems of, we're not a very good screen team. And sometimes you just call bad plays against the defense that they're running. Mm-hmm. But if you start to watch the play, you can see that this third receiver to the inside, he's pointing. So he recognizes something that's changed up, as does our receiver out here. He points just before the play as well. So now they're both communicating something. So there's good communication here. We've had a communication with who the mic is. The play starts to come, but notice where the third receiver starts to go. He went towards the inside as if he was going to block this backer, who was actually, is a nickel guy that looks like he's playing a kind of a 3-by-3 out here. Mm-hmm. But instead, when that guy goes to come, watch what he does. Is he running a route?
He's going to block.
He's going to block. Where does the running back go?
The running back takes the blitzing linebacker.
Yep, but notice where our linemen are heading. Where are our linemen going?
To the left.
They're going left, and then they're starting to sneak out. This is a screen. This is a screen play that's coming. But because of the play call, so now the issue becomes who are you going to put the blame on, right? Because we have a really bad call for the defense that's coming. Because we're not a good screen team. We don't have enough to pick up. Now, you usually want to run a screen against teams that are blitzing a ton of people. So where we're struggling is when we slide to the left, which you'll see from the end zone view. Let me get to the end zone view. So now keep in mind some of the things we've talked about, right? The center is pointing out the mic. And what you don't notice here is see the shift. We couldn't see it from the side. So this guy shifted over. So now you got basically 3 guys for 3 guys. This backer's not coming yet, and an extra guy there on the outside that comes. So we should be okay here. One-on-one, one-on-one, one-on-one. They're kind of doing this zone hard left. And end of the season, we talked about how poor we were blocking. Here, our synchronization is great. Everybody's moving lateral. Nobody's giving up ground. We're moving along fine here. We've got the guys covered in here. So there's no pressure here. The problem is this guy coming off the edge, nobody's really responsible for him. Nobody's figured out who's got that guy. This was the first sack that I saw this year because it was early on in the season where it didn't look like we understood assignments. If A does this, we do that. If B does this, we do that. Instead, because no one picks it up, now we're in some serious trouble. Because our running back got it. He decided not to go out to his screen. Smart move by him, but maybe not smart move. And this happens all the time too. Player makes a decision based on what I think is best for the play, not based on what the play is meant to be, it's meant to do. There's only one running back, Norb, so what running back do you think is supposed to get the screen here?
41, isn't that? Who is that, Scott Scarborough?
41?
I forget who Scarborough, I think that's Scarborough.
Yeah, I don't.
Anyway, 41. Yeah, there's only one running back. So basically, he was the guy.
I love the Seahawks. the roster numbers, once we get going, I'm more into schemes and numbers, and let's make the plays.
So
Now,
what you're saying is the running back took matters into his own hands.
Well, yeah, multiple things. Now, again, everybody's playing to the left. The only difference is that you'll notice is some people I'm sure are watching this go, well, wait, but the tight end came open. The tight end's there. Well, if we have guys that are moving downfield in terms of linemen, and on the previous side view, there was a lineman that was starting to move downfield. Russ won't be able to throw this, or we're about to go half the distance to the goal line, or almost half the distance because we're just outside the 20. So he can't really make this throw, and we don't want Russ to make this dangerous throw as he's done in the past. So there's really nowhere to go. He running back goes this way. So my guess, Norb, is that the play was supposed to be a kind of like, because we've seen it before, where we kind of fake to the running back, then we sprint to the right, and then we throw it back to our running back to the left, which we've seen get picked. We've seen it get bubbled. We've seen it, and I'm talking just running back screen there. So this one, I'm going to give kind of a neutralizing piece, because I think it's actually more on a communication standpoint that we don't know about. So it could be, is it lineman who didn't pick up? And it's better if we go back to the side view. This will be the ending piece for this one, because receivers figured that hey, we got this guy covered. Because early in this game, this was the first time. This is the second quarter, 4 minutes left. First time we've seen this defense. Because I went back all the way through. This was the only sack that I had to go back and go, wait a minute, did they run something like this that made us want to run this play? Because we're obviously not ready for it. And we just weren't. Everybody's sliding left. We don't get the guy blocked, other than the running back, who I think makes the right choice. It's, do I get my $30 million quarterback killed, which we'll talk about at the end, or do I go and do my assignment? You know what? I'm gonna take the protection piece. I'm going to protect Russ, hope that he goes in and tells Pete, hey, let's keep this guy because he saved my life. And then I'll just take being in trouble or what have you, in the film session. Russ can maybe make something happen, which you kind of hope that he does here. Your hope would be that maybe he throws it away. But again, you can't risk it if you know there's potentially linemen going downfield, because it's definitely not a pass, because you can tell by the way guys are running on the backside. So that's what we have there on play number 2.
So that's basically kind of neutral. We don't really know. It's not on any one particular person's fault. Oh, that's Alex Collins.
And I think that was Alex Collins. That's why, again, I could have pulled out any 6 plays of it, but I wanted to pull some that are definitely going to be Russ, some that are definitely going to be O-line, and some that are kind of be okay.
All right.
Chat group, who are we going to pick on? So
all right, one more play, and then we'll take a couple calls.
We'll go to calls.
Keep it going. All right, play number 3.
So play number 3 is coming up. Get it queued. And here we go.
Oh, same game, but now we're catching up. 34 to 20.
It's the only time I have 2 kind of in the same one here. But again, in a situation where playing catch up, they know we have to throw the ball.
I remember this play.
We're in that obvious situation where, of course, we're going to pass it, because we threw so many times in the latter part of this game. So are we still able to protect? Because there's going to be situations where teams know we're going to have to throw the football.
Yeah, down 14 late in the game, of course, we have to throw, so they're expecting that.
We have to throw it, and this became that end of the game, full breakdown, start of the 3 out of 4 games. We start losing things, and who should we change? And our offense changed. We need to run the ball more.
Right. This is where the let Russ cook theory started to fall apart. The kitchen caught on fire.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Ken Norton was like, hey, this is great. I don't see my name all the time on the coach's corner and on roundtable discussion. All right, so let's watch the play. Okay, so let's take it back. And again, just because a quarterback has a lot of time doesn't mean that it's his fault, because it depends on the play call, on the play design. They know we have to come at it. But early on in the season, we were getting decent protection. So now that we watch it twice, let's go ahead and slow it down a little bit. So when they put guys up on the line of scrimmage, Norb, you have to treat it as if they're coming. You hope that they're not coming, but you have to treat everybody has to become accountable. Now, I always joke around that, teams that come up at every level from youth onto the NFL, when you get up to the line of scrimmage and you step in a gap and then you blitz through that gap, I've never truly understood it. I've talked with Sherman about it. He doesn't understand. He's an offensive guy forever. He's like, yeah, I don't understand it either. Like, yeah, stand in the gap. Tell us where you're going, and if you don't go, that's great. And if you come, We've obviously got you accounted for, which is the situation here where they're in the gap. They're coming, they're bringing guys. So they got 6 guys, and we have 6 guys. We have 5 linemen, and we have a running
back to protect.
Yeah. So pretty decent job to right here. And this is why I'm going to stop here and go to the end zone view of this. So I just want you to kind of see what we have. A pretty settled pocket. But if you, again, quick glance at wide receivers right now on the first drop is when Russ should be making his read, right? He's taking a deep drop gun and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he's in the gun and he's taking a 5-step drop from the gun. I mean, he's back there. He's deep. He's got time to read it. And routes are going deep. And yes, it is a long situation, second and what have you. But this goes to some play calling, protection. We're asking our line to protect for a long time, and they're doing it right now. But look at all the space with the athletes that we have. And I think this could be a little bit of where there was some discord that took place. And I'm not talking about our discord here, where when you have that much room, can we get it back in a couple plays instead of sending guys way down the field and asking our line and Russ to do too much? So let's go to the end zone view of this. Boom. So great job by the running back stepping up in there, getting the block. We'll get good protection most all the way around here.
Pretty good V. Looks like a pretty good V pocket.
It's a very nice V pocket. And where we really do well is guys are actually trying to do their best on Buffalo was made to the Final Four, right? I want you to watch right here, this tackle. I mean, he's trying to do everything he can, right? Our matchup against our center, he does a spin move, tries to get in there.
Got him walled off.
Yep. Now, here's the thing that we need to look at. And again, you're going to feel like maybe I'm heavy Russ right now, but trust me, there's going to come a minute here after the calls. I'm going to be heavy old line. One of the things I noticed as we were looking at sacks, Norb, as a trend, was that Russ would look one way and then immediately escape the opposite direction. So regardless of whichever way he went, he was usually looking the opposite direction and then decided, okay, I feel something. I'm going to immediately leave without knowing what was over there. And that pocket presence that we talk about quarterbacks having, that again, have we really seen that out of Russ, or have we only seen it? Is he magical at times where we have to have some, and he's a great competitor, he's a great athlete, and we let him call the plays. We're letting him cook, as they say, right? That seems to be the only real magical time that we have with Russ. It's not early in games. We don't get out by 21 or 28 points. And it's because we have a lot of these type of situations here where people would be blaming the O-line. I was watching lots of plays where, man, the O-line seems like they're doing their job. Russ is getting out of there, and we go back to the protection. From an O-line standpoint, fantastic. Because everybody's accounted for, and they know the running back's going to pick it up. But as Russ is looking here, I mean, any natural situation, quarterback is going to think either scramble forward and throw the ball,
and step up,
or
in that
maybe
bucket.
like an Aaron Rodgers kind of set or what have you. But you have to feel colors. Some coaches teach it, some coaches don't. I always taught colors, meaning quarterbacks, and we had all these different drills where we would put something there, and as soon as we switched colors, we wanted to see if they noticed it and got out of there or stepped up in it or what have you. Colors meaning white jersey, white jersey. The peripheral eyes would tell you, I've got white jerseys. And if I see jerseys white on both sides, that's telling me that I've got protection there. Just like you see guys that on a kickoff return, guys are getting blocked out towards the sideline, and the kick returner takes the ball down the sideline and gets crushed. And you're like, well, we were blocking guys to the sideline. Why did you go to the sideline? Same thing here. On this one, I would question, and again, this is after 5 seconds back there. What's the reason to go to the right on that? Russ wanted to make some magical plays, wanted to do some stuff, but I think it's very, very clear on that play that, again, that would be chalked up to Russ. Now, after we take some calls and stuff, there's going to be some things that you're going to see that it's like, oh, okay, it looked like it was 28-0 O-line, and then Russ is going to make a comeback, and then we'll make our decision on stuff.
All right. So that one's on Russ. Escaped the wrong way out of the pocket, escaped into the sack. All right,
so we'll call it 2-0-1 right now. 2-0-1.
All right. Okay, let's go to some calls. Let's start with, let's go to Nick LeBeau. Nick.
Oh, man.
What's your question,
man? I
man?
get prepped every time this guy calls.
Hey, Nick, what you got, man? Welcome back to the show.
He's going to come with some strong stats.
My question is, do you think with the new offensive coordinator, if he does implement the Ram style of offense, that'll kind of make it easier for the offensive line? Because I saw with the play calling this year, we had a lot of deep routes. And, it's hard for an offensive lineman to block for 6 to 7 seconds. In LA, they kind of seem to run a lot more quick, short passes than we do. So do you think that'll help the offensive line when blocking?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, because, when you talk about schemes and concepts, the difference is, scheme is the overarching set of plays. So let's say it's West Coast. Now, it's a hybrid West Coast. It's not the original, but I'm just going to call it that for now. Original West Coast offense, it's going to have bootleg, short passing game, some screen plays amongst probably 5 total things. Usually teams are going to have roughly 5, and then their playbook's so thick, they have a lot of other stuff. So they're going to move into these, 3 to 5 schemes. And then in that scheme of the bootleg, there's going to be different, philosophies of what type of play, the concept that you run. So some teams like to run bootleg to the 3 receiver side. So you get 3 receivers, 1 receiver and the running back, and you say, hey, we're going to go bootleg this way to the 3 receiver side. And then another coach comes in and say, we're going to run it away from the 1 receiver side. I think that was the difference between who was hired and who wasn't, was someone who came out of that McVay tree, which is proving to be a winning tree because it's under Shanahan, which is under Bill Walsh. So there's a strong lineage of what people do there, but it's based around timing. And that's what I love. I think Russ is at his absolute best when it's get the ball in his hands, get the ball out of his hands, right? I mean, it's when he's on the move, even on a bootleg, there's timing that takes place, because bootleg is not just about protection. It's about letting receivers run, 5, 10, 15 yards further down the field and develop routes. So it's going to aid our offensive line. It's going to allow Russ to be more mobile. And it's going to play to the strength of, again, what I absolutely love, which is timing routes. I'm a big believer in timing routes versus getting back and reading for us. Doesn't mean players can't do it. I mean, I love it for some teams, but not for our personnel. I'd rather we bootleg, hit the strong, short, quick passing game, and utilize our backs out of the backfield. And that's the other piece of what they do is running backs do this. Running back goes out and runs in the flat while the DK Metcalf is running the slant. And now that outside linebacker has to decide, do I take the running back or do I drop back and take the slant? So those are the pieces, and we still run the ball, right? I mean, the Rams ran for, 120 plus yards a game last year, and people don't think about it, from that standpoint. So it definitely, I think, will be a great fit for us.
All right. Good question. Let's go to another one here. It's coincidental, since I think Nathan Peterman, I believe he's got a Bills icon in his Discord identity here. Let's see if that's the case. Nathan, you're on. What's your question for Coach Marsh? And are you a Bills fan? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. Well, we just showed a couple of Bills plays there. So, what's your question for Coach Marsh?
So my question is it like, who do you blame for like the offensive line? And if Pete Carroll would have fired Brian Schottenheimer in week 1, would that have made our offensive line better?
So it's a tough question to answer right now because, and I'm going to answer it a little bit because as we go through it, I'm going to be giving you some stuff at the end of the show in terms of some stats and some interesting things that I think are going to make you kind of second guess a little bit of the onus on the O-line. Now that there's plenty to go around. The idea for me, and as I told Norb, the only thing I told him we were going to do with regards to the show was try to figure out how do we divvy up the pie, right? If there's a circular pie there and a chunk of it's going to go to the O-line on blame and a chunk of it's going to go to Russ on blame and a chunk of it's going to go to offensive coordinator, coaches, what have you on blame, how big of a chunk does each person get? Clearly, everybody's getting some pie at the table. Everybody's getting some blame pie. But I think at the end, you're going to see that, maybe it's so easy to blame the offensive line. And it's a trait. And I'm a big fan. Like, I love the offensive line. I love hanging out with the linemen. They work hard. They don't get the credit for that they just do. And, when things are going great, it's kind of like kickers and punters and other things. Like, you just don't hear about them. The first 8 games, when Russ was MVP, the whole line was pretty dang good, right? I mean, things are going pretty well. Nobody was saying anything bad about the offensive line. So I don't think that changing the coach if the first game or anything like that would have made things worse for us. because they would have to try something new. So again, and that's not to say that your question is a bad question. Just if you could just wait a little bit, I think I'm going to give you some information that'll help you again determine what you think is bad. And I'm not here to try to convince you one way or the other. I'm just going to try to give out some facts and have you see some things.
All right. Let's go to one more question here before we go to more plays, and then a few more questions at the end. So this is the KC Sportsnerd. KC Sportsnerd. Welcome back to the show, man. What's your question for the coach?
This is more of something I brought up earlier in the show, but what do you think of, especially, I mean, before the stream started, is that what do you think is a recurring theme throughout the years when it comes to these with plays, like when it's on the quarterback or on the offensive line? What do you think is the most recurring theme you see?
The fans. The fans are the most recurring thing. It's us looking at stuff and being Monday morning quarterback and recognizing that, the easiest group to blame is the line because there's 5 of them out there. I think the best thing that, that we should be doing, which hopefully maybe we'll start it right here, right, is looking position by position. I mean, yeah, you talk about the secondary, but when things go bad, usually you say, gosh, our corners didn't play well or our safeties didn't play well. Linebackers, gosh, our outside linebacker, inside linebacker, even D-line. We talk about the tackles. We talk about the defensive ends. But O-line forever has been that grouping that's always just kind of, they're an ensemble cast, and you don't look at it from a standpoint of, left guard. Left guard was the issue this year. Left guard and right tackle, or center and left tackle, or left guard and right tackle. Right. So that's where I look at things in terms of, it's not a totality thing, because you're never going to be able to take an offensive line and just trade out like we do quarterbacks and safeties and individual positions. You can't trade out a complete unit. So that to me is the constant, the consistency that's taking place. Every sport through the course of time has that in their sport. In football, it's offensive line. It's looking at that group and just saying, yep, let's blame the line. And because you don't have to name names, it's a whole group of them. So, it's got to be 3 or 4 of those guys in there. Not always the case.
All right. Well, let's go back to plays, and we'll see if we can squeeze a few more calls at the end there, Coach. So let's go to your play number 4.
All right. Here we go. Just queuing it up here. Ready to go. All right. So the team that we love. And again, we're not going to talk about the trade that took place. I don't know
this is the win.
Is showing up there? I don't think you can see it.
Yes, it looks like a quarterback.
Let me switch out here. You can see my Cobra Kai background for Norb to keep him happy. Let me get a quick switch here.
All right. So this game, this was the home game against the Rams, the one that we actually won, if I recall. So it'll be interesting to see how this one breaks down. And just a quick reminder while the coach is setting that up, you just let me know when you're ready. I want to remind everybody that on Friday, I want to invite you guys to the YouTube premiere of my 2014 Seattle Seahawks documentary, NorbCam, The View from a 12. Now, this movie I produced in 2015, the same year that we had Super Bowl 49. And this basically is like a 1 hour 15 recap of the entire 2014 season, and showing from the start of the season, really the off season, all the way to that fateful play in Super Bowl 49. And it's a pretty cool kind of best of 2014 story with, I even have actual plays in there, so you'll get to actually see the highlights of the action from the 2014 season. So,
if you haven't seen any of Norb stuff from back then, it is off the charts, unbelievable.
That was the first year of music videos and Rivals, so it was like my debut of a first season doing NorbCam. So it's pretty special.
It's very, very cool. All right,
ready?
Let's bring it back up here. Let's see if we can see stuff here on this piece. Now we're able to see.
Okay.
Give you a better dot here. Okay, so now this is the game that obviously we were definitely having some struggles in, but it's early on down in our end zone. And again, I want us to go back to those core things, right? The numbers of guys that are on the line of scrimmage. Forget that they're D-line or linebackers. It's the presence of how many people are rushing versus how many people do we have, dictated to block for us. So if they're bringing 4 or they're bringing 5 or 6, we're always going to have 5. But then do we have a running back? Do we have tight end? Do we have a receiver who's going to crack back down or who's coming in tight to take care of it? So let's go ahead and watch the play from the get-go. So as we get the snap, and don't worry about motions, we'll talk about that later at some other point. So I'm going to bring it back because I know that the eye, what we often have, and this is the tough part, and it takes a long time to kind of pick up this knack, is oftentimes when we're looking at plays, we look at Russ, right? We look at the quarterback. And then on TV, if we're lucky, we have somebody who's going to give us a quick illustration of maybe what took place. But again, they don't have a lot of time to really look at things and break things down. So here we have a situation where, as you're looking at it, you're like, okay, I'm going to watch the play gets snapped. Okay, I'm going to look at Russ, and okay, Russ, throw it. And I'm looking at receivers, throw it. The line. It has to be the line. Well, maybe it is. So let's go back and check. Let's find out. And this one, I'm going to take us directly to the end zone view because it's right there before we come back to it. All right, so as you can see, they've got potentially 5 guys that look like they're rushing, right? You got a pre-snap read. So we could count the numbers. We got 5-3 that are down. We got a backer out here and a backer out here. So potentially 5. And pre-snap read, Russ has had a guy go in motion, and he's got to have a sense of, okay, I know if there's a Hall of Famer over there, and I've got this play, and he already knows where everybody's going. So he knows the timing of who's there. The one thing we're missing on a lot of plays, again, is the utilization of running backs. So here's as we go from the end zone view so you can see what takes place first time through. As he drops back, you can see the immediate protection, and this is the time that I actually want you to try to watch Russ. So just watch Russ as he drops back. He looks left, comes middle, comes back. So what we didn't get in the earlier play in terms of dropping back and making your progression reads on a shotgun to a 5-step drop where he just looked right, and then he kind of went straight, and then got sacked. Here you have a play where the drop back is not as deep, yet he's still able to look, and almost have time to look to the other side. So let's check it in slow motion to watch Russ first, and then we're going to come and look at the line. So focus just on Russell's drop back here. He's got just a 1-step and then a quick hippity hop. So he's not taking the full 3-step drop that he usually would take. So there's definitely a timing piece that's at play here. Whereas he gets the snap, it's depth to do. He's just got a quick settle. So now it's a matter of, okay, first guy's not there. I mean, hands coming off the ball. So he's
supposed to throw the ball here.
He's clearly supposed to throw the ball because how many out and ups or slant and goes, or as they're called in the NFL and at high school and college, sluggo and Hugo. So if you ever hear sluggo or Hugo, that's a receiver going slant and up sluggo. Hugo is, the out and up sometimes, and why they call it Hugo, and there's some other goes that go out there, but these going on a go. I know why they call it, but I'm not going to get into it all tonight. But more in terms of here, he's supposed to get rid of that ball. 99.9%, he's getting rid of the ball there. He chooses not to. This is the situation where our line is asked to only block so long because there are many, many different styles of blocking, right? They're not going to block the same way on a 1-step out of shotgun with the 2 little baby steps and a throw like they did on the 5-step drop where he got plenty of time there. They're asked to block for just a quick hit second, neutralize them, take care of them, and be done. But what do we see in the game? And I'm going to tell you right now on this one, this will be the only giveaway. I'm blaming the O-line on this one before I finish this one up. This one's going to the O-line. Even though right now it looks like Russ, and even though we're like, geez, what guy's standing here? It must be the O-line, right? That's what we say. Lineman standing there. And Norb, the worst thing that you ever want a lineman doing during a play, do you recall what I said early on? Quick quiz. Do you recall what I said? The worst direction a lineman can be. How about that? I'll help you out.
The worst direction.
When your quarterback's getting sacked, what's the worst direction a lineman can be facing?
You're looking at him.
Looking right at him. you better be running back and picking him up. But we always said, hey, if a guy gets by you, go, look to the left and right and help out there if they're clearly by you, as opposed to turning around and looking at your guy just get crushed back there. So, so that's taking place, kind of the escapability. So last piece on the Russ part, just so we can see the Russ part again, because we just don't want to put any blame on Russ in this area. Like, don't blame Russell. Hey, we got to get him to not make these mistakes. And this is where I think the new offense is going to help. It's going to help the O-line, because this is where you can get frustrations too, where an offensive line unit who's sitting together going, hey, we gave him time. Like, we gave him plenty of time. Yet coach is coming and, yelling at us that he needs more time. And Russ is, he's trying to be positive, but you can tell he's upset, and the receivers are getting mad and throwing their helmets and everything else. We're doing our job. I think we're doing our job. So why escape to the left? Remember what I said earlier about the look-offs? The original play was scheduled to go to the left, and then it's okay. Well, if I'm going to get out of there, I'm going to get out of here over here, this direction. Now, here's why I look at the offensive line and say, this is where we have some issues, because you still have to protect at this level. So now try your best not to look at number 3. I know it's difficult. Try not to look at number 3 here. So as we get going in the protection right away, and this is the breakdown. And to me, a loss for the O-line is 2 out of 5. If 2 out of 5 have a breakdown, that is automatic loss no matter what Russ does. 2 people on the offensive line cannot have a breakdown. Well, we have 2 guys that pretty much have a breakdown here. Because this is the only side I'm going to focus on. We have a guy who's 4 yards wide out here. So even if he comes, we're going to have plenty of time to pick this up. Well, we know that they've got one of the best fronts in the NFL, if not the best front, and they have the best defensive lineman in the NFL. So you've got to make sure you're taking care of inside out in this situation. And with the kick step. And even when, we've talked with DJ Squabble and some others, and you talk to anybody, this is a play. I spend more time on this play with a couple of my buddies that coach at one that coached at college forever and one that coached in the NFL for a little bit and is back in college. And I say, guys, what do you see here? And first thing, both of them out of their mouth, left tackle, no brainer. And then came to left guard right after that. But the fact that we're kind of doing a wide kick slide away from one of their, the best player, and this guy's not coming. And now we're late here. So from fundamentals to skill level to recognizing the situation, again, it's a quick hitting play, but let's forget that for a second. We still need to protect. It wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered that he's beat. We are beat right now because this guy is upfield shoulder on us. He's already passed, or he's level with it by his next step on a quick, regular speed. He's already passed it. So right there we're beat, and look at we were giving him a little Oreo cookie sandwich there, but he's
right.
through it.
Yeah.
Right? He's through the sandwich on a regular pass pro. Now he's doing the best he can, but a guy facing the wrong direction. Mm-hmm. And the last part I'm going to show here, and we'll be done with this play, is probably, I would say, what I talked about earlier on the call, where I think that we should be looking at position by position and not taking offensive line as a totality. If you ask me, which you have tonight, left guard. There's one significant upgrade we need to make on the offensive line, it's how our left guards play. I'm not saying that we have to change them out. I'm not, because it's not easy to just go find linemen, but we got to coach the heck out of them, develop schemes and concepts that work well for them, and make sure that if there's somebody out there, then we consider getting them. Because our left guard play was just not that great. And you can already tell that even by position, he's worried about the guy he's going up against, so he's in a little bit different stance. And the last component I will say here is at the NFL level, Norb, no offensive lineman should ever be hopping. And it was, just credibility from the 2 people that I spoke to. Even though I've coached line forever, I think it's always great to have another eye on it. First thing both of them said, 2 different things out of the tackle, but when there was guard, both of them said, "Oh, stop. Why is he hopping?" If you hop, the equivalent would be a wide receiver facing a jam coverage guy. And if that wide receiver doesn't shorten his legs, shorten his distance, or like Devontae or like Baldwin started to do, where they would quickly go into a Allen Iverson crossover and get their feet lateral so that they matched up with the DB's lateral feet to create equal footing. You're putting yourself in a position where as you're up in the air, that defensive lineman is going forward. So all linemen need to be taking some sort of a 6-inch power step is what you usually call it, and to some degree. Instead, he hops. So if he just watches both feet, hop down. Well, by then, this defensive, he's already into him. Mm-hmm. Arms are already shedding him. Legs are already driving. He is done within a fraction of a second. Done. So, So I can't really blame Russ for going that way and getting the sack. And he should have got rid of the ball and all those other things. This one to me, Norb, is a no-brainer.
Hey, but before you go out of that play, though, before you go back, can you go back to that? Yep. Go back to that one more time. So back up to where he's about to get sacked. About, I don't know, it's a same angle. A little bit further, just before that. Okay, so right here, stop. Now, when the way I see the tight end going across the middle, he looks like, and the way that 51 is leaning towards his left, looks like Dissly would be open here. But then you got Carson coming from the backfield to the same spot, which pulls the other guy into it. So is there, because he maybe was thinking about going to Dissly, right? But if he can't, because with Carson going there as well, it kind of creates all this kind of traffic. So is there some fault on there to the receiver and the tight end and the running back also kind of creating a little bit of a problem? Because you're never supposed to have two receivers or two players in the same spot. That's something wrong too, right? So
here's what I love about you, Norb, is, and it's, people that follow Norb will come to find that the guy's got a tremendous memory of things like this. And we talked about this in the coach's corner, and you brought that up at that point too. So I think part of maybe your subconscious recall of that.
It just recalled that. I guess that was it.
But that was one of the pieces when we were looking at the totality of a play and what we thought caused, the loss was the scheme. And again, I'm trying to kind of stay away from looking at wide receiver play and everything else. But without a doubt, we already know that number one was throw the football to his right. There was supposed to be something there. He saw it. Okay, he didn't like it. I wish that he would just throw it away on those. Like, seriously, throw it to Sierra up in the booth or wherever she's staying to watch the game. Like, send it up into the stands and let's take second down, especially down here. Let's try not to be magical at this point of the game. But like you said, he comes open there, and remember the Washington Redskin game where we saw him throw that ball to, down in the end zone? And I mean, the window on those next gen stats, it was the tightest window any quarterback threw a touchdown in all year long. The tightest window. I mean, he had like less than an inch to clear the DB, but it was a 22-yard, just drilled it. So the fact that Russ doesn't throw this year is part of it, and I don't believe in that he's too short. So I'm throwing that one out the window with me. I don't believe in that piece.
Yeah. So he's got to trust it.
Can he drill it there? Perhaps. But as he's turning, remember the colors thing I said? Well, there could be an instinctual turn, and I see two guys in blue. It's sitting right there in the same spot. Is it running back running the wrong way? Did a running back have a choice route, where a choice route being that he can go and he's supposed to go at 5 yards, and then he can either go straight, or he can go at an out route, or he can cut back underneath on the Texas route, as we talked about before. So just so you can see it, so that you see what it's talking about. Forget what we were talking about with the O-line for a second. What Norb's referring to is tight end coming across and running back coming out, and you'll see a mesh point that shouldn't take place. And a mesh point is when two people come together in the same spot. I mean, you just can't have that. Regardless of what's happening back here, you can't have that. But so let's tease, since I teased everybody with what's going on, why did we not throw the slant route? So again, you have to look at the timing of things. And this is not a timing offense. It's not a timing offense. It's a read offense. Get under, pre-snap read. What's the defense doing? And then after the snap, while you're dropping, make a read on number one. Do your hippity hop number two. Don't like it, throw it away. Or duck and run. Or hit the hot receiver. But what he doesn't like is we get an awful get off here. And again, I'm not going to do all these other things. But you look at this, at this moment, if I just brought the frame here, you'd say, why didn't he throw this route? But there was problems early on in the route, which I will talk about in a later time. We're talking wide receivers. We just watched Metka gets caught up there, and then it's just there's nothing there. Why that happens, and I will tell you on multiple occasions as I saw sacks, easily of the 40-plus sacks, there were 15 of them that were all about the receiver putting himself in a position where he wasn't going to be open right away, or he wasn't looking back. And Russ would not throw the ball, even though the receiver was about to come wide open. But Russ wouldn't put the ball out there. And how many times have you seen an NFL quarterback, or even at the college level, whether it's the throw behind catch, back shoulder catch, but specifically the route I love is the route where the guy's going 15 yards and then he cuts back to the outside, but that ball is literally there the moment he turns, right? It's right there. How many times do we see that? We don't see it very often because that's not part of the read. What's coming at us now, which I'm excited about, is that like, hey, It doesn't matter. DK's not looking at you. And that's going to help the offensive line. Russ, you're going to drop back, you're going to take your 3 steps, and you're going to hippity hop, or you're going to roll. I mean, you go 5 steps, go take your right leg and go a little bit to the right, and then left step. And Joe Montana was the best at ever doing it. He rarely hippity hopped. He'd go 5-step drop, step right, then step with his left foot, and now he's between the guard and the tackle, and throw it to Taylor or Rice. Guys weren't even turning around yet. Turn it, ball's there, out of bounds. So that's going to be a piece right there that's going to help us out, I think, tremendously moving forward. But this
All
was
right.
O-line, so 2-1 to 2-1-1, Norb.
Okay. All right. Close game. Let's go to the fifth play now.
And that's not to say it's not going to be a automatic tie or anything like that. So, all right. So let me get her queued up here. Now this is going to look at. Let me switch it over. Quick. All right. So it's going to look similar to the same situation, and because I had the Rams in there twice, because of the situation they were in, and because it was a little bit more fresh in our memory, what took place. So now we're in the wild card game. So it's
this is the wild card. Okay.
Yeah. So when I said earlier I didn't have two from the same play game, this is not the same game. So this is a different game. Although things are going to look familiar, a little bit familiar here. So now we noticed the pre-snap. How many guys are there? If I'm Russ, I'm going, hey, there's lots of space, and it's really easy to look at this. For you guys that play Madden and go, well, there's going to be some big gaps and everything else. But at the NFL, things happen so fast. And Norb, I know you've been down at the field level. Even pregame and games, what have you. I mean, those guys are moving so incredibly fast. The difference between a college level game and an NFL level game, it is night and day. And even if you're in the first row of a stadium, you can't realize how crazy fast it is until you experience a game on the sideline level. And that's not me, saying, I'm lucky enough to do that, but I've been lucky enough to do that on a couple of occasions. It's mind blowing. So things move so fast that it's incredible that Russ can make the decisions he makes and that the line can do the things they do. So let's watch the play here. Again, motions aren't going to really help too much in terms of our protection scheme. I know everybody's trying to look quick to see if our receiver's getting open. Is Russ doing his thing? So again, pre-snap, how many guys are rushing? And then pre-snap read. And then how many do we have to block them? So right now we've got 5 linemen. We've got a running back. So we've got 6. And they've got 4, maybe 5, depending where he's at. But he's not quite a rushing guy right now, this linebacker. So I would not count him.
So he's
not
4.
a threat to come right off the edge or, like the other backer was earlier. So here's our 4. But you can see real quickly, and I'm sorry, with 6 because of the tight end.
Tight end was chipping.
Not so much the tight end, but because he blocks and he comes down, he's playing it like a tight end once the play finishes. But pre-snap, you're only counting on 6 guys, 5 linemen and the running back. Right now, you wouldn't count him in as a, prototypical blocking type, nor do the Rams. They're not counting on this guy to block. He might, but he's in a receiver position. Mm-hmm. Now, did they check into? I don't believe we do. We hardly ever check into hey, receiver, come down and stay and block. When Tampa Bay ran the second play at the end of the first half for the long deep touchdown, Brady told Gronk, come in tight, get down, stay. Gronk was supposed to be going out there. He was supposed to be part of that mix on a play. And he said, no, just change it. We have not had the flexibility to do that, or I haven't seen him do that. But now as we see the play develop, you can see that how quickly, 2 guys get to him. So let's see why that happens from the end zone view, which is what makes film great. So we got our 5 guys. Guys are coming in. Let's start with Russ. Okay. Russ is dropping back. He's taking his drop back, and he's taking a nice deep 5-step drop, but notice right away his body lean.
Leaning to the left. Now,
I can't blame him for this, right? If I played at regular speed, not as quick to pick up on, but man, oh man, there's very few, and I'm being facetious when I say this, very few drop backs where you go 5-step drop and lean backwards and move to your left, where you're leaning that hard. But it's very, very clear on the outset that Russ has been hit so many times. He's been pressured so many times. And I think we could all sense it as fans, Norb, that there was something going on with Russ's psyche where, again, how could you not blame him, right? He's getting crushed. Things are happening. And he was also in a position where he's feeling like maybe he has to force the ball because of the game where we have to get certain receivers the ball because they're getting frustrated. So we're all out of whack. And when you can recognize, again, that color piece, he not only sees blue, but he sees white, right? So if all of a sudden he recognizes white coming down his
Lewis,
throat,
the right guard, is beat. So he's coming down hard.
Well, and they're all, they have moved the trench. You always hear play down in the trenches, get down in the trenches, battle in the trenches. This neutral zone trenches area, on a pass play, you're going to create the V, but you can't give up that V where it just gets crushed. Well, we are crushed in every way, shape, and form here. And this is a little bit of scheme from a scheme standpoint. Why are we not changing things? We're not pointing out who Mike backers are, which we were doing earlier. The first first handful of games I went through when I was looking at sack, we were constantly pointing things out. And then when we did the adjustment midway through the year, where it's, hey, obviously we went to a different style of offense with a coordinator not comfortable with it. They obviously simplified some things, tried to make things easier. And now the line that was protecting well started not protecting well. And I don't care that new linemen come in or come out. There's a different scheme that takes place. So as we're getting help out here, so we don't have to worry about this. No, it's 5-on-3. That's why I chose this play. Because you're literally talking about a 5-on-3 blocking scheme, because we utilize one of our receivers, who's a tight end basically, to neutralize. And yet we still can't handle it. Position by position, we know we're getting beat out here. Why is right tackle not helping us out? Okay, his responsibility's out there, but he realized that's not coming, and so we're not getting a squeeze, we're not getting a good V. He's just getting blown up. You can't say go hit the weight room in the next 5 minutes, get stronger. So we're done there. We're super slow out of our stance at left guard. So now we're going to get some technical pieces here. Look at the center.
Yeah, he's still sitting there.
This is what people don't get to see. And this is the beauty of when you get to capture these type of films. And obviously some people have access to the all 22, but when you go to the end zone view, there's nothing better, because it doesn't lie, right? The film doesn't lie. I'll tell you what doesn't lie. When you're still having your pizza snack and the center and the other guys are moving and you are still in your stance. I mean, our center's foot has lifted and gone down and we're still in our stance at left guard. Right? You just can't have that. So everybody else is moving and we are still just sitting there, and now we've barely moved. Now our right foot went backwards inward. It just never happens. His left foot should always be his foot that goes every single time on a pass play. And then his right foot, and that's how you start creating the V. And now he's just he's not even ready for what's coming at him. He's done. Our center, who would let him go, he's going to try to come over and help to the inside, and he would have been there. Now our left tackle has to help here, and that's why he's helping there. It's just ugly all the way from the get-go. So I think we understand the point on that one. So I'm going to let you just watch it again from regular speed just to see how it caves down. Russ is back. He feels the pressure. Now and there's nowhere to go. And what teams started doing, Norb, and it started with the New York Giants, is they figured out with their defensive ends, let's just make sure Russ doesn't scramble to the outside. Force him to stay inside and run up the middle. If he's going to escape, let him run for 8 or 10 yards and slide. But where Russ beats us is when he can get outside the hash marks, and then Metcalf, Lockett, somebody runs the scramble route, and Russ's arm gets that nice teardrop pass like they're getting early in the year. Well, hey, let's change it up. Let's keep our safeties way back, and let's have our defensive ends cave to the outside and see if we can get them with 3 guys and stuff. That's how teams changed on us. So this one, definitely offensive line.
All right, for sure.
2, 2, and 1.
Okay, 2, 2, and 1. All right, let's go to the next one.
All right, so this will be the last one. Doesn't necessarily mean it'll be the telling tale of tell of the tape, but it definitely will get us in there. All right.
Iupati seems to be a common name mentioned in a lot of these plays, which I think if you were to pick a lineman, most people would jump in and say, yeah, Iupati's got to go.
Yeah, so I don't know if you remember these days back when we were playing the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, that seems like a long, long time ago when we were doing that. So let me pull it up on there for you.
Hey, real quick, I wanted to just recognize Lena Dahl, our moderator in the super chat, said, "Hey, NorbCam, sorry I came in late. Just found out a couple hours ago my stepdad died in England. Rest in peace to Ron." Man. So I'm sorry, Alina, to hear that. Our condolences to you. So sorry about
and if you're new, she's obviously a big fan of Norb, been a big fan of the show, and it helps us out and everything else. So sorry to hear that for sure, without a doubt.
Thanks for being here.
It puts things into perspective, right? I mean, this whole season's been about perspective. Mm-hmm. So as much as we get upset at these guys, life happens and life moves on. So
all right,
here we go. So
this is the Cowboys.
Again, pick games that are close. So, I could have picked some other games, but then again, all Seahawks games are close, so I could have pretty much picked any game here. So let's go ahead and watch the play as it develops. And you'll notice a trend with just about every play, but for one that I chose on multiple things. So Norb, how many people are on the line pre-snap?
4.
I mean, talk about vanilla when they talk about vanilla defenses, I mean, you're looking going, this is what they mean by vanilla defense, because it's pretty obvious the type of defense they're running, what you're going to get, pretty simplified. So the fact that there's only 4 of them, and you'll note that a lot of the plays only had 4 or 3. Well over 70% of the sacks, Norb, were against teams that only rushed 4 or less. And you'd have thought that with us having the 7th most sacks in the NFL that against us, that teams would be blitzing all the time. And that is not always the case. It's a combination of what is the quarterback doing, what is the line doing, and what is the play, right? And so there's issues that take place there. So again, over 70% of the sacks against us, as I tracked them, were against teams that only eventually rushed 4 or 3. They may have shown more, but that's all they rushed. So what we see here is Russ is taking that one-step drop, right? He's taking the one step, get back there, and get yourself set. One set throw, one set of feet, and he's turning, and you can tell just by the long leg drive, he's looking to throw
supposed to
what
come
looks
out right
like
there. Yeah,
a pass. But again, it's hard for me because I want so badly to talk about, why or why not, right? Why or why not on the pass play. But as you look right here, I mean, you've got a passing lane, and unfortunately we can't do the turn where we can go to the corner of the stadium, because I think you'd see that this is about a 8 or 9 yard wide lane that he has potential to throw. I mean, this is kind of like the perfect poster of if you want to teach someone in the NFL and just say, hey, look at this picture. Here's the players, here's the positions, and here's what the quarterback looks like, and here's the routes. And by position, we've got a good one-on-one there. We've got a good 2-on-1 there. We've got a good one-on-one there. Might have a little problem right here. So let's go ahead and take it back to the beginning, and let's watch it just in slow motion as it takes place. We'll go to the end zone view. Okay, how's our V? How's our V looking, Norb? Up to a certain point.
Up to a point was okay, and then the V on the end started kind of falling apart.
Yep, yeah, and then
there
the V,
the left
usually
tackle.
You tell me like what letter. So it's like turns into a J or a B or W. So obviously there's going to be an issue here, and we're going to have to determine. This is where the end zone view. It's going to be interesting what people say in the super chat on this one, and this is why I saved this one for last, because this is definitely one of those where you have to decide: is it the $30+ million man, or is it the offensive line that's worth barely $20 million in totality, with one of those guys being almost half of that? So now I'm starting to get into some numbers and some stats. So let's go ahead and watch it. Regular speed from the end zone view. We have 6 to block 4. If as tight end goes out on the route.
Oh,
tough hit, right? I mean, that is a tough one.
Blindside.
So now let's watch it slow mo. Just for the last time watching Russ before we really look at the O-line, even though some people may try to go to the O-line. Again, at the outset, I've only been saying 6 because I know tight end's going out on the route. So Russ takes the nice depth, right? He's getting his feet gathered, and then he plants that foot. And when that whole foot gets planted and it's 90-degree step, which he's doing, I mean, he's as good as it gets when it comes to 90-degree footwork, right? Arm is coming out. There is no doubt that he's getting rid of that ball, except for the fact that he doesn't. But again, man, passing, geez, I mean, if he had passing things like this, things should be awesome. And we know the guys are open, and we know the guys are coming out open, but he doesn't throw it. And again, Norm, on a one-step drop, you're not, it's just, try to go back for those of you that remember, when teams went under center, when teams used to go under center, a quarterback wouldn't go under center and take a one-step drop from the center and then start reading the defense, right? It was one step, throw the slant, one step, throw the high fade 25 yards or into the end zone, or get rid of it. The same philosophy still works with the shotgun. They're doing it because it just gives them a little bit more time. But not that much time, and barely enough time to go. So if you're in a one step, you have time to look and then come to your check down. If you're in a 3-step, look and come back. On 5-step, you have time to do it all. On a 1-step, you just have the time to do the throw and maybe come back if you feel okay with the protection there. But because we have a little bit of a breakdown on this side, on our left tackle side, but notice our left guard that everybody was complaining about, and I was showing stuff earlier. First half of the season, Norb, you wouldn't have been able to notice that he was arguably the worst one of the 5. Last half of the season, when things really started to change, he was just lost. I mean, so many sacks, so many situations that again, here it's early on. He's battling. He takes a good step. It's our left tackle that has the issue. So let's go ahead and just focus on that for a second as we wind this down. So here we have good protection. Okay. Problem with the left tackle as he slides back. Notice the hat. And when I say hat, I'm talking helmet. So when I'm talking hat for people to watch for the first time, I'm talking helmet. As he's dropping back into his drop. So I love the kick step, right? So then when I talk kick step, this is what I'm talking about. Love it. His left foot kicks back. So now he's getting him. So he's a good athletic position. He's on his toes. He's bouncing. And if anything, and Norb, this is a rhetorical question, but which direction do you think you want defensive ends to go? Inside of you or around the outside of you when you're trying to create a pocket?
You got to bounce it outside. In this case,
around
to
the
his
outside.
left.
Yeah, absolutely. You always, if you're going to make the mistake, but as soon as that helmet slides to the wrong side,
lost his
and again,
leverage.
it's a quick thing, right? That's when defensive linemen, they're doing spin moves and swim moves and all these other type of moves. But this guy comes right at him, but because we anchor in and it just gets slipped to the outside, we lose all leverage. And now your quarterback, who's early in the season, is confident with, I don't like something, I'm going to just step right back into my pocket because it's usually been there. Says, okay, I'll just stay right there. And no, it wasn't.
Boom.
And again, here he's trying to look back to other spots that were going to come open. But we have a massive offensive line breakdown right here. So I can't blame Russ for not throwing that first one if he didn't think it was there and feeling like I could turn back and throw a quick one.
Yeah, maybe at the middle there.
There was a lot of these if it would have, should have, could have.
Looks like that tight end, like that tight end going across the middle there would have been a nice option there.
You got coming across the middle, and, things are going to develop and happen. But because we're not that timing team, we're digit, where it's look here, look there. And by digit, it's someone has a play in the passing tree, another person has a play, another person has a play, unless it's a flood or a different concept. We don't have time. So he has to look, find, see, research. Well, when is that at his best? When he's scrambling. That's why he's so great. If our offense was just scramble, like just take back and run the amoeba offense, go wherever you want, receivers go wherever you want, we would be fantastic, but we wouldn't know how to block or who to block. So that's the issue we run into there with that, which is why definitely offensive line, because even though it wasn't two, the offensive line created such a poor position that Russ was not able to come off that first, non-throw, which I would look at it from a quarterback standpoint and say, Russ, throw that football wide open, make the throw, make it happen. But I'm okay with the fact that he didn't. So that one I would put on the offensive line for that, which makes it 2-2-1. So how do you determine who it is and what happens? Here's what you get, Norb. So as I was going through a bunch of these plays, and as I pull out some of my notes here, one of the things I noticed was that Russ on multiple occasions would do what we just saw there, where he would get back and he would just be so laser focused on throwing to one guy, and then he'd come off of it and it was too late and he wouldn't see it, and he'd only have half field vision. And remember a couple of weeks ago when we looked at the flood route where there were three guys going to the one side, but he ended up just watching, Metcalf come across, and he set him up to just kind of get drilled because Metcalf was basically blocking before the play before he took off. A lot of those type of timing plays and such where it was just lots of trouble where he just wouldn't make that type of a read and get out of there. And I think there was some confidence that took place there. Of all the sacks that I looked at, again, near 70% clip, I checkmarked Russell as the culprit. The person that I would, if I had to choose one or the other, and a lot of times it was close like this, where you could kind of go either way. But if I had to really put the onus on somebody, it would be on Russ. But to me, it's on Russ because of he doesn't know what he doesn't know, not because of his football IQ. He's probably the smartest football player on the planet, or one of the. But if he's not being taught, or he's not in an offense that's allowed him to do that, and he hasn't been in one, and now he's about to be in one. And I honestly going to go out on a limb and say that I think Russell will have the best year, 16 games, just talking regular season, that he's ever had, because he will be in an offense that is tailor-made for his skill set. That's not built on the run, but the run is utilized, but you use the pass to set up the run. That's what the very first line in all West Coast offensive books, in terms of the hardcore philosophy of it, is you use the pass to set up the run. And that's what makes it so great. That's what's going to help him. But if I'm putting the blame on stuff this year, so the final component, Norb, that I would bring up to you is in 2000, if I had it here on the right spot. Yeah. Let me read this to you. In 2005, we had a quarterback named Matt Hasselbeck. He made $2 million. In 2013, you know how much Russell made? $516,000.
I was going to say about, yep.
About the same amount as you make doing this YouTube stuff.
Minus a digit or two.
516,000. Then in 2014, and this is so important to hear, like out there in the super chat network, 2014, Russ made $662,000 a year. Okay, so where did all that other money go? Well, a lot of it went to our defense. Some of it went to our offense. 2005, Matt Hasselbeck making $2 million. You know why? Because who was our left tackle and who was our left guard? Right? We had Walter Jones and we had Hutch.
Steve
We were
Hutchinson.
pouring money where we needed to, and we were still built around a running game with Sean and other things. But you wouldn't say Matt Hasselbeck wasn't a throwing quarterback. Like, he threw the ball. But Holmgren was West Coast offense. Throw to set up the run. He made Brett Favre. He made, these guys. He made Steve Young. He made Matt Hasselbeck. And all those guys give credit to Holmgren on that. Now all of a sudden we get a quarterback who, rightfully so, gets his payday. 30 million plus bucks, right? 30 to 31, I think is what it is. But like I said earlier, I kind of threw it out there. We only spent about 20 million on our offensive line. Conversely, Aaron Rodgers or Tampa Bay, but I'll go to Green Bay, for instance, because they got the most interesting number. They're almost reversed. They put in almost 40 million towards their offensive line. So how do we make up for that? It's kind of again rhetorical. If we want Russ to do his thing, he wants to have input on this and input on that. Well, I'm not going to ask you to give up all your money, but this is what you're going to get. If we're only going to put that type of money into there, it puts us in a really, really tough position.
Doesn't Aaron Rodgers, though, he makes close to what Russell does. He's not giving some hometown discount. He's also like the next guy.
He's not, but that part of the issue is that's why they didn't go out and get the extra help that he needed, right? When he wanted a top-notch wide receiver to complement, and he wanted another this and another that, you can only pick and choose so much. And there's I could go through all sorts of numbers with regards to salaries and stuff, but they're one of the top ones, and most of those teams are. They figure out how to make it work by, again, utilizing their off. What makes Kansas City great? They get the ball to the right guy all the time. They figure it out. They run it quick. Mahomes, $500 million quarterback, but they've figured it out, right? How does Tampa Bay get all these great athletes to come play with Brady? Because they figure it out. They make it work. We have not been able to figure it out since we won the Super Bowl. And when we won the Super Bowl, it's because we were only paying our quarterback $500,000.
Right.
But then everybody wanted to get paid, right? And so that to me is going to be a tough one for us to, that's the piece that we have to solve.
Well, I think
I can't look at this as my final exclamation point. I personally cannot look at this stuff as I looked at it real hard the last week and even come close to blaming the offensive line as much as we love to just throw them under the bus. And we always will. We always will throw the offensive line under the bus. At some point, you got to look at the $30 million man and go, hey, you got to make some things happen. And now you've got the quarterback, because as we'll talk about tomorrow, Russ is at risk at being the second best quarterback in our division. Not because Stafford's better, but because he's also entering into an offense that's tailor-made for a guy who just wasn't in a good offense.
What a teaser for the roundtable for tomorrow. We're definitely going to jump into the Stafford discussion and what that means for the rest of the NFC West. So, all right. So, verdict is clear.
And I hope I brought up some fun debate. In all honesty, I want people to disagree and do like that. To me, is the fun part. So, I know people love Russ, and I love Russ too. But I hope people are looking at it and go, no, still going to blame the line.
And I think people have to separate. Putting the blame doesn't mean we should not have that person. Right? We often blame our children. When my kids may make a mistake, I'll call them out on it. Doesn't mean I want them to be my children anymore, but you got to fix the things you're not doing right. And in this case, I agree. There's so many times when we say, Russell, get rid of the ball, or why isn't he throwing it to this guy? Can he not see? My mom says, he's too short. Is it that simple? It's probably not that simple, but it is a contributory thing.
Moms know. I wouldn't question your mom, though. Mom's usually know.
Well, he is short. But is that the reason for him not throwing those balls when he should? That's another discussion. But all right, so that's interesting. That's your take on it.
And we're going to look at a few other things. I think the breakdown of, because I am a hybrid of the West Coast offense, and have met the people I have. I mean, I love it. I mean, I'm as jazzed as I have ever been, as a Seahawks fan, because of what I think is coming our way. Now, again, he still has to coach them up. He still has to install it. We still have to make it work. But holy cow, I am so amped for what we have, and especially the way our division's going and everything else. Like, super excited for DK and Lockett and our guys. If they really buy into it, that it is a pass to set up the run, but it emphasizes run.
Yeah,
it'll be awesome.
If Jared Goff can succeed in that system, and this system translates over to what we can do to implement it using the same talent that we have, you got to be pretty excited about that. So,
Norb, you nailed it. I mean, really, you nail it, right? I mean, again, you look at Goff, the number one pick in the draft, and he took him to the Super Bowl, and less than 18 months later, his coach is ready to get rid of him. Doesn't even start him in the game that they beat us, right? And we're going to take a Russell Wilson. I mean, arguably, again, one of the top 10 combo IQ athletes on the planet, and put him out there in an offense that's tailor-made for him, in my opinion. I mean, I'm going to do everything I can to get binoculars and climb a tree and watch him practice if we can go out there, because I think it's just going to be fun to watch because it's movement. I mean, what makes these teams fun is that they're moving. They know how to use their quarterbacks.
Right.
That's what makes football fun, when you have a quarterback, and we have him, and we're not going to have him much longer. He's not going to play 22 years. We like to think he is, but geez, I think we're finally going to have a chance to play him, because we haven't yet. His whole career, we have never come close to playing him that way. And it's going to help our offensive line.
Yeah. All right. Well, I can't wait to see. We got months to see how this will shape up, but let's just hope that this new coaching staff will bring out the best in what our offensive line is, and the running backs, and the receivers, tight ends, and of course Russell Wilson as well. So
yeah, a lineman can come in even through the draft. You can find someone you can mold them. It's one of the easier positions. Tough mentally to learn everything, but a third, fourth, fifth, sixth round lineman can come in and they can help us in the first year. Other positions, really hard to have a guy come in first year, like a running back or somebody else, to do that, unless they're special high first round, but a lineman. So I think Schneider and Carroll know exactly what they're doing.
All right, let's hope so. Let's go to some calls. A few more here to wrap up the show. Let's go to BJ. BJ, what you got for Coach Marsh?
Yeah, so I got two small questions. So the Rams, they use a lot of motion pre-snap, and I obviously expect that to translate into the Seahawks offense with Shane Waldron coming in. How beneficial do you think that would be for the offense? And then, out of these three guys, who do you most likely want to cut, trade, or let go? Jared Reed,
are you gonna fire somebody already?
And Tyler. What?
So it was Dunlap and Tyler Lockett
and Jared Reed.
And Reed.
Jared Reed.
And yeah.
Okay.
So I have to fire
we have a lot of cap trouble, and I think if we want to sign more people in free agency, we do need to let go some players.
All right,
and
BJ.
I'm sorry, so it was Lockett and Carson. I didn't hear the first one again.
The first question.
No. I know the first question. I'll answer the question.
Let me restate it. Jaron Reed, Carlos Dunlap, and Tyler Lockett. Is that what the third one?
Reed. So that's it. Now that I know who that first person was, it would be Reed. I mean, Dunlap, I think, is just a guy you got to have. I just love how he plays if he could be healthy. Lockett, without a doubt, I mentioned it last week. My concern is that DK is going to end up holding out for the big time money. He's going to want to be the number one paid wide receiver in 2 years, and so both guys are kind of, as they're moving into that year. And the Seahawks don't like to. Schneider's proven that he doesn't like to do something with somebody until they're a year from their final year. And that's going to be coming up next year. So we have to take care of Lockett in case we're missing DK for a few games or something like that. With regards to the motions, great question, man. I mean, that's a great question, because that's what the Rams do all the time, and it allows you to create leverage. And I mean, I wish so often that when they were running stuff with Metcalf, that he wouldn't go in motion and then reset like we saw, which is essentially a shift, right? What the Rams do is literally have a guy in the traditional motion, where you motion and then the snap and you go. Okay, so that teams right now, they run a lot of things that look like motion, but it's more of a shift, because the guy will sprint across, but then he quickly kind of gets set and then off he goes. We need a Metcalf, because he's so big. He needs to be able to have that momentum and that leverage spot, because his one weakness, which is going to be really hard for him to overcome over time, no matter how hard he works at it, is coming off the line of scrimmage. He's strong enough that he can push guys around, but he doesn't have the super quick, muscles to be able to go back and forth and be able to run around guys, because he's just so big and thick. So get him in motion moving. Yeah, I love that. That's part of what the West Coast does, is getting guys moving to create leverage and getting guys ahead of the corner who's chasing you. We saw Kansas City and the Packers do it the last few weeks.
All right.
The Packers have not moved on.
So now the second part of that question, Who? Or, no, you already answered that.
I said
In the beginning.
I said who I was firing.
That's right, in the beginning. That's right. All right. Okay, so let's go to another question here, this time from Dominic B. 2021. What question you got for Coach Marsh?
Hey, what's going on, Coach?
Hey, how are you?
Man, I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Good. I'm doing awesome. Excited to hear what your question is.
So, my question is, what are your thoughts on the upcoming Super Bowl between the Chiefs and Tampa Bay? What are your thoughts?
So I'll answer a little bit. I want to save a little bit for the roundtable tomorrow, but it's hard to think that Kansas City isn't going to win. And I don't like to say win handily, because anytime you have Tom Brady facing anybody, you know that he's gonna find some ways. But I just think I'm an Andy Reid fan. I'm a Holmes fan. I just love how they work their magic with their players. They got an unheralded defense. You don't get that far without a great defense too. And there's just so many weapons. Who do you stop? And they're on a roll. I just think it's a magical time to be Andy Reid. And so I think, my simple prediction for right now will be Kansas City. Now that could change tomorrow, but I just don't see this being the time for Brady to win it all.
Well, that would have to be very different from my Madden simulation last night, where I played
Yes,
Kansas
it will.
City and got my butt kicked. So,
And it was very hard not to put a Madden play into here, but I knew we were trying to just cover one focus thing. But I was going to talk about the offensive line for Madden.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's good question. We'll talk about that more on the Wednesday roundtable tomorrow. Let's
I'll
go
get more in depth on why I think Kansas City.
All right, let's go to Nelson X90. Nelson, I think this is the Nelson from Pennsylvania who won the NorbCam football. Is that right, Nelson?
Yep, it is.
All right. How do you enjoy that football, man? Glad you got it.
It's really good. Yeah,
You call from Pennsylvania?
Yep.
Oh man,
Coast to coast.
appreciate you staying up late to call us.
That's right. All right. So
Go ahead. What's your question?
Yeah.
My question is, what do you think is your our new offensive coordinator's first move is going to be?
In terms of player acquisition, or in terms of the type of plays we're going to call in the first few games?
Well, the players that he's going to try and go after, the sign or the offensive plays.
Well, he's not going to have a whole lot of say in terms of what they're going to do, because Schneider and Carroll obviously dictate the policy on that, and they're going to focus probably on defensive side of the ball and do those things. But I have to believe that they're going to look at the interior. I mean, I hope that they're going to look at somebody on the offensive line, at least as a strong backup or someone that can be there to take care of it, because you have to be able to have good movement there. We have the pieces everywhere else. If we returned everybody right now and all other teams did the same, other than the trade that we were aware of, but had the different coordinator, I think we'd be in great shape. I thought we were in great shape last year, and I'm on the record as saying I wish we hadn't got rid of our offensive coordinator that we had, because of the way we were doing it the first 8 games. But then we changed based on head coach philosophy, stepping in and making that change. But we still went 12-4, but we limped into the playoffs for the most part. So I think that he would look at interior offensive line and say, hey, look, let's just make sure everybody else is ready to go and learns this offense, because we've got the skill guys, we have the tight ends, we have everything that every solid West Coast offensive team has had in the last 3 decades. Great receivers, tight ends that can play, and a complimentary running back that can get the tough yardage, and a quarterback that can run the whole machine. But I just hope we get out of let's not let Russ cook. We need another mantra for next year.
All right, let's go to one more question here, this time from Chris Carson the GOAT. Chris Carson the GOAT. Hello, Chris Carson the GOAT, you there? Well, maybe he's doing like Chris Carson and probably leaving. Let's go one more. Dylan Tate 35. Dylan, you're on with Coach Marsh and NorbCam.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So this is for Coach Marsh. Do you think next year our offense can be kind of like Kansas City?
It won't be like Kansas City, because there's only one Andy Reid and there's only one Eric Bieniemy, and those two are just dynamic in what they do. And for those of you who are probably wondering, okay, why didn't Eric Bieniemy get picked and stuff? I certainly don't have the correct answer of the why. My mentor, Sherman Smith, his son coaches for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's the running back coach there, Dylan McCullough. But there's still, so I mean, even Kansas City was pushing to have him out there. What they do that's unique though is that Andy Reid calls a majority of certain plays, but Bieniemy also inserts and calls, the red zone plays, the specific fourth down plays, certain things like that. That's why they have such a great blend of action. So there's no way that I see us being, to that level because of Pete Carroll being a defensive-minded running style coach who doesn't like trick plays and likes to keep it kind of vanilla from that standpoint, but he's proven that it can win. And a new coordinator that's going to be, probably going to hold back a little bit before he lets things go. And while we have weapons, we don't have those type of weapons yet, right? I mean, Metcalf is still really, really green and young and new. We know exactly what we have with Lockett, exactly what we have with the straight head runner. And while Russell's very, very good, I think Mahomes is quickly bypassing him and every other quarterback in the league right now because he's just so special. And Russell's special. Don't get me wrong. Russell can get us at the end of the game. He can make things happen for us. But Mahomes he's just a unique freak, and he's just fun to watch. So I think we will be head and shoulders ahead of where we were, but we won't be, don't look for us to be running trick plays and for us to be throwing underhanded shovel passes for us to score.
All right, we got one last question, this time from Aidan Pham, one of the NORBFAM members. Aidan, you're on with Coach Marsh and NorbCam. What you got?
My question is about the Matthew Stafford trade. I was just curious what you think or how the presence of Matthew Stafford in the NFC West will play.
Man, this is tough because I promised Norb I wouldn't talk about this till tomorrow. I thought we'd get through without someone asking. All right, so I will give a quick piece that I think will kind of be the teaser for tomorrow. That depending how our coordinator does with Russ, that right now, all things considered, there's a major risk of Russ not being the best quarterback in our own division. I'm not talking the league or the conference. I'm just talking our own division. I've been a Matt Stafford fan since he was in college. I mean, I love the kid, loved how he played, tough as nails. He's a veteran that's coming out there. Guys love playing for him, but he was in a team, and you can't blame Stafford for not doing stuff. They have like one playoff win in 50 years. There was a great video I saw when the trade took place. All the Detroit Lions wins in the last 50 years, and the video was 12 seconds long. It showed him taking a knee in one playoff game. So that's an organizational issue. I think Stafford, unbelievable upgrade for the Rams to put that guy in that type of offense with the McVay and everything else. So again, I'm not saying he's better than Russ, and I'm not saying that we won't be better than the Rams, but man, oh man, when I saw that trade come down, trouble. And I've seen another possible trade that's taking place maybe with the San Francisco 49ers possibly today or tomorrow. And if that happens, our division quarterbacks and the offenses that they run will be fun to watch, but thank goodness we have an offensive coordinator that's tailoring something. So yeah, I think it's a significant situation and shift that just took place for the Rams. And it shows that they want to win and win right now. They don't care that it might cost them down the road. They haven't had a first-round draft pick for, I think, 8 years now. And they're giving up 2 first-round draft picks. But McVay's saying, hey, I want to win right now. And that's the guy.
All right. More to come on this on the Roundtable show tomorrow. So be sure to tune in for that. It's going to be a Super Bowl preview and talking about that very subject of what's going on with the Rams and that massive trade between giving up Goff and getting Matt Stafford. So interesting your take, Coach Marsh. It'll be very interesting to see what the rest of the
division.
It is. It's getting tougher and tougher.
4 for sure. 49ers need to find one, but man, Murray's great with his thing, and Stafford, and obviously Russ is
you got to stay
Russ
up.
will be a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about it. So anything I say is with that, right? He's going to be a most likely first ballot Hall of Famer. So he's a phenomenal presence in all ways. We just need to hopefully fine tune it to another level.
We got to keep up with the Joneses. Or keep up with the Murrays, or keep up with the Staffords. It's going to be a constant game of move and counter move. So we'll see how they do on that. All right, so that is it for the calls. Thank you. I couldn't get to every single one, but I got to most of them, so thank you guys for calling in. Coach Marsh, I know we're reaching towards the end of the show here, so I always like to give you the last word. So go for it. If there's anything you want to promote or anything you want to add to it, this is your final word.
It's kind of funny. Self promotion, obviously not my thing, but at the same time, started my own channel, and it's going to be. First happenings will be taking place on Thursday, and then dropping some videos and everything else. So a lot of work behind the scenes with, number one person of support is the guy who's on the opposite side of the screen here in Norb. I mean, he's just been tremendous. You've been such a help getting me going on that. And so, a handful of people that are connected to NorbCam that they're excited because of, being connected to Norb and the things that they've brought to him. So just fun to be trying something out. I'll look forward to the feedback, want to hear and see things in the comments on stuff you'd like to see. So if you've watched anything or seen something, you just want more of it. Most of my clips are going to be little 5-minute videos here and there that are just nuggets of action, both football and some non-football, really hardcore life related stuff, just based on some things that I've experienced in my life that are pretty heavy duty stuff, with a book coming out here pretty soon. So excited on both fronts. And excited to be collaborating still with Norb on things as well. And continue to drop stuff in the comments, because Norb and I are constantly looking at different things we're going to do, and obviously we read every one of those.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. All right, Coach. Well, thank you always for being here to offer your insight. We will do it again tomorrow on the roundtable. So everybody, make sure you click in here. I'm going to put some windows up here so you can check out other Coach's Corner episodes. You can also check out the roundtable on one of these, and also don't miss my YouTube premiere of NorbCam, The View from a 12, the 2014 Seahawks season. You'll enjoy reliving that season with all the plays interlaced in it as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
And I'll tell you, on that plug right there, Norb, I mean, you got a handful of videos that I actually put them on my big screen, and we watch them as a family. I mean, you do such exceptional work. So anybody who's new or hasn't watched any previous stuff, what he's got coming out this Friday, you don't want to watch it on your phone. I mean, at least get your laptop or computer, or but put it on the screen and watch it with some people, because you'll be blown away. And it's just, it was a magical time, and I know that it's just a really, really great stuff that he puts out there.
Thank you. Well, it's the 2014 season, a heck of a ride. Should have been the miracle season of all time, but of course we know how that ended. But nonetheless, it's fun in a Super Bowl week to re-explore that fantastic 2014 season, which had miracles within the game, within the season. So I hope you guys will join me in watching that. I'll have a reaction show right afterwards, so I can take your live comments immediately after the show and talk about what you just watched. So thanks everybody for joining, and we will talk to you tomorrow on the roundtable. Have a great night. Go Hawks.